Hello and welcome to Dean Park. You join me for a packed September update, which includes adding super detail to the line side, the start of my mega build at the west end of the layout, I've finally taken delivery of Greyfriars Bobby, which joins the Dean Park fleet, I test build some trunking from display model kits, and finally I highlight some detailing woes on my Mark IV DVT in LNER livery. I hope you enjoy watching. Later on in the video I'm going to ask for your help and advice, so please post all feedback using the comment section below. In the meantime, enjoy the video. Ever since adding some lineside details such as dummy point motors and dummy point heaters, I've been after some scale looking wire to add in to the scene to look like lineside cabling. In the past I've used some multi-core wire and I find this quite difficult to manipulate. It wants to kind of go its own way, and a lot of it was kind of over scale looking. So thanks to John Bately, who's got Har Old Road on his Facebook page, I came across this, and it's single core and it's black enamelled copper wire, and it's easy to manipulate into any shape you want and fix the layout with a spot of glue. So that's what I've used here and on all the turnouts along the depot side of the layout, and as I progress round to the west end I'll be adding that detailing as well, and I'll be retrofitting it to some turnouts at the station side. So all turnouts on the layout that are visible will be fitted with this extra line side detail. So thanks very much John for your heads up on this type of wire. Before installing on the layout, I cut lengths of the wire from the reel and just toned them down a little bit using some Rail Match Sleeper Grime and Rail Match Matte Black, and it kind of tones down the shiny finish that you get from the wire straight from the reel, and it's more realistic that way. The reason I did it before installing it is because, as you can see, I've weathered the track and surrounding area. Obviously if you were doing the track weathering at the same time as installing this wire, you could get away with just weathering it in situ. In the next few clips you'll see some of the installation process, and I apologise in advance for hands and fingers in front of the camera. It was quite a fidgety job to get these to stay in position whilst they were gluing. I tend to glue them at both ends, in some cases holding them down with a small pair of tweezers. In other cases I've actually bent the wire at 90 degrees and drilled a small hole in the baseboard to locate that end. It makes it a little bit easier to hold it whilst it's gluing. I tried to avoid drilling holes where the ballast was, because if you drill holes in ballast it tends to come off in larger chunks. So where I've actually employed the hole and the 90-degree bend method, that's in areas where the ballast is thinner or non-existent. Before going any further, I must stress that this is a representation of lineside cabling. If I was to add every single tiny detail and cable to the side of the track, it would look very cluttered in some cases, and I've looked at photographs from the 1980s and 1990s to get a representation of what it would have looked like. Thanks to those who've given me the heads up on where to add cables and what it should kind of look like, and again thanks to John for his inspirational pictures that is shared on Facebook, which really got me thinking about doing this detailing in the first place. If you look closely at this clip, you'll see some of the orange conduit that I've fed through the tracks, and this in real life is just to protect the cabling from the traffic above. This orange tubing, if you like, is from Scale Model Scenery, and I'll put the link to that website in the description below. Check that out, it's really good stuff. You can feed it through underneath the sleepers and cut it to any length that you need. You can now see the corner piece that I've put in place. It's just been placed on some wooden uprights there. It's not obviously fixed down just now. And there'll be an embankment that tapers up from the left hand side around the front of the actual curve section, and it will taper gently down to the right as it goes off the screen to meet with the short section of retaining wall. This view will give you a sense of the scale of the area that I'm trying to cover. Obviously there'll be a lot of embankments, slope sections and undergrowth. The flat section itself, I've not decided what I'm going to put there. That's a project for another year. I'll obviously be focusing on other parts of the West End before I get to the corner. It's often difficult to find a purpose for this small corners in the layout. Obviously I've used a housing estate, and I've got a building site and a caravan park, so I'm going to try and come up with something a little bit different for this corner. Okay, a little development since the last clips regarding the design of the wall. What I've decided to do is add this kind of stepped wall approach from the left hand side. It's down over here, and it just steps up until it reaches the full height at the right hand side of the screen. I hope from this view you can see the slight curve on the retaining wall, and that follows the curve of the track. And with the kind of step down design of the wall, I just feel it blends in nicely with the embankment section there as well. I've started working on the tunnel portal, and this is the first cut of that design. It sits at the same level as the track, and it'll have a full interior, and as you can see here, I've got lines etched into the MDF, and they represent the buttresses and the concrete plinth that I'll have going across. This is the second cut of the portal. As you can see, I've added the buttresses in and taped in position a concrete plinth. I've also taken it straight down to the baseboard. The buttresses stop at track level, and by taking it straight down to the baseboard, I think it's going to be a lot easier to install. I'll not have to worry about cutting the actual internal parts of the tunnel at an angle to match the incline, and I think it'll be a lot more stable sitting on the flat baseboard. All of my tunnels are kind of complete removable units, so the front's attached to the internals, and I can take it out and slide it into position after I've done, for example, some scenic work. And that's the kind of the method I'm going for with this particular tunnel. This is very much a sample cut, and I'll be making some tweaks and alterations to the sizes and proportions before cladding it with brickwork and priming it and then painting it. For this build, I really need your advice and your input. It's going to be clad in brick, so I've got the tunnel portal and retaining walls. But what colour of brick should I go for? I've used red brick on some of my scratch build structures, and engineer's blue brick was used to great effect along the Great Wall of Dean Park. But what colour of brick should I use for this section? Red, engineer's blue, or indeed another shade of brick? Please get in touch by posting your feedback and your advice in the comment section below. The internal parts of the tunnel, I've made a specific shape there, and that will navigate its way around that raised area, and they'll be able to get pushed in to the depth that I want the interior to be, and there'll be lots of them kind of packed together, and that will give a nice firm structure for the internal brickwork to be formed around. This area will pretty much dominate the winter ahead, with the tunnel portal being built first, and then the retaining wall, and then I'll use some scenic materials and landscaping to bring it all together before adding the usual static grass, trees, lineside details, etc. To keep in touch and up to date with this progress, keep checking out my updates throughout the next few months, and hopefully by the end of the year I'll have made some significant progress on this part of the layout. Something else that's kept me busy in the last 3 or 4 weeks is building new backboards for the west end of the layout. Whilst the previous ones were okay, they were built using 6mm exterior ply, and the quality of the surface finish on that isn't as good as the birch ply, which I now use for all my backboards. This led obviously to a less smooth surface finish for then applying the self-adhesive back scenes. The backboards that I use are designed to be removable anyway, so it was easy for me to remove the old ones and get access to the west end of the layout, and whilst I was at it, build these new ones. This view here shows you the back framing of the backboard, and this edge here around the layout, the plywood slots in front of that and the legs slot behind, so it holds it securely in place. And to remove it, I just lift the whole section upwards, clear of the edge here, and I can take it away to access parts of the layout, or indeed fit the ID back scenes. New models have been coming thick and fast to Dean Park in the last month or so, and this includes the brand new Bachmann Class 47 47711 Greyfriars Bobby, which was first announced back in 2019 prior to the retool of the Bachmann 47. This particular 47 sports the Halfords headlight on the front of the loco, which is the first time Bachmann have tooled this as part of their suite for the Class 47. It's really effective, even with the brightness of the Halford's headlight in comparison to that of the twin marker lights, and it really is a welcome addition to the fleet. You'll also notice it's got the jumper cables on the front as per a Class 47/7, and these are finer than before on the previous model, being actually separate parts with the cable itself being wire. I have to say I really am taken by this model. It looks absolutely stunning in the large logo livery with light grey roof. Whilst the Class 47 Subclass 7 from Bachmann already looked good, the new version just moves on that little bit further with regard to several areas, including the jumper cables at the front and obviously other additions that we now see with the new tooling from Bachmann. This model has come to me flawlessly finished. I mean, I really have to commend Bachmann on the quality with which they've turned this model out. I'm really looking forward to using it on push-pull duties, using the Mark IIIs and Mark IIF DBSO, as well as normal local hold services. I'll be doing a full review on this model along with a limited edition Class 47 which has just arrived from Kerno, but for this video I'll just show you some running shots of the loco, running light engine round the layout, and with some Mark I coaching stock, just to give you a feel for what it looks like in its new home at Dean Park. The DVT was released around about 2 months ago, and since then I have acquired all three, the LNER, the GNER and the intercity swallow livery. I had initial issues with the LNER regarding the quality of finish and the paint around the cab roof, the white cab roof, and there was dents at the corners with the paint. I don't know if it was caused by the packaging or a moulding issue. However, I eventually got myself a good one, or a better one, and since then it's been used on the layout. The fitting of the panel at the bottom of the windscreen varies in quality. This is a good one, however I've seen some horrific versions where they're practically not even horizontal. Then you add in the coupler, which is actually at a different height to the Mark IV coaches, and if you use the normal tension lock coupler with the DVT onto the Mark IVs, it can disconnect itself. This is improved by using the coupling bar, or the best option I've had so far is by using the Hunt magnetic couplers, and the link to those is in the description below. What really frustrates and disappoints me, bearing in mind this model is over £80, is the lack of quality and finish in certain areas of the model. For example, you can see the inside red of the body there shining through the back of the DVT. That should all be painted black. It's really not acceptable. Then you've got the two red marker lights which sit higher up at the back of the DVT. These have been picked out in red on the GNER and the swallow versions, but not on this LNER version. And even if you look around those black circles, you can see the red of the plastic body shell beneath. They've not even given it a good coverage of black. Coupled to that, they've not even bothered tampoing any details onto the end of the DVT, including the C3 designation and the data panels, and any flash warning panels as well. This gives the model almost a railroad range feel, and it really does feel a bit light, flimsy and toy-like at times, which is really disappointing because the DVT promised so much during its early design stages from Hornby. I can only hope these issues are addressed for future releases, and those of you who stick by the Hornby brand will buy the improved ones at a later date. But then again, if you've already bought one like this, you might not want to buy any more. Well, that's it for the September update from Dean Park. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please add all feedback in the comments section below, and if you've not already done so, please like the video and subscribe to the Dean Park channel. In the meantime, thanks for watching, stay safe, cheers for now.